Hey everyone! Today we have finally reached our last official math lesson out of our curriculum for the year. So this is pretty exciting. That's why it says last one here. I can't believe we've already reached this point. I feel like it's seriously was just yesterday. It was the first week of school. So anyway, today's lesson is lesson 120 and it's multiplying mixed numbers. So I really love going over this. Especially because there's a really common error that happens quite frequently with this this operation, and I like the opportunity to go back and really explain how to do this because for many of you, I think that error is just something you're trying to do, just trying to figure it out. And I think this will answer a lot of questions for people. So, multiplying mixed numbers. I've said this before, but honestly, multiplying fractions and mixed numbers is so much easier than adding them because you don't need to have any type of common denominator. This is a piece of cake. So, here we go. We're going to go through a couple of examples together, but first, I'm going to talk about our learning targets for the day and also just kind of go over a little bit of notes. Multiply mixed numbers. That's our learning target. So as we're looking at some notes here, in order to multiply mixed numbers, there are a couple things that you need to do in order. Number one, this is so important. Change them to improper fractions. That is so important. The most common error that happens with this is that, and this will make more sense when you have a visual in front of you, but what people do is they multiply the fractional parts and then they multiply the whole number parts and then just kind of plug those together. And that's not accurate. And so don't do that. What you need to do first before you can do any type of multiplying of mixed numbers is to first change them to improper fractions. Then you'll multiply just like you would multiply fractions. And then, of course, this here on the end where it says simplify, that's just what good mathematicians do. Before you're done with a fractional answer, you always simplify. So just to kind of talk through that a little bit. Here we go. So when I was saying earlier, what people do, this error that I see quite often in both fifth and sixth graders is that first what they do is multiply this fractional piece and then they multiply this whole number piece. And their answers, they're not right. So take a look here. The first thing that they've done or the first thing that they've demonstrated is you must turn these into improper fractions first. So they've done that here by, just to review this really quick, this is one of our previous lessons, but I'm just going to review how to do that. You take your denominator times the whole number part and you add the numerator. So with that, we go 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 more is 5, and we get 5 here. And then our denominator stays the same. Our denominator was 2, our denominator is 2. Our improper fraction is 5 halves, or 5 over 2. Let's do it over here. Just to demonstrate, we take our denominator times our whole number, and we have 3 times 1 is 3, plus our numerator. So 3 plus 2 more is 5. Yeah, our numerator is 5. And then all over the same denominator. Our denominator in this case is 3, 3. So now we have two new ways to look at what was up here. These are mixed numbers. This is just a different way to look at them. These are improper fractions. We have 5 halves times 5 thirds. And of course, then all you do is multiply across. You multiply your numerators and you multiply your denominators. 5 times 5 is 25. 2 times 3 is 6. We're not going to leave our answer like that. We're going to simplify it. Now, in working with improper fractions, mixed numbers, and fractions, simplify is a word that's used because it means more than just reduce. Reduce implies you're just kind of making those smaller. Simplify means you're checking for reducing, meaning do they have common factors? Can we make this smaller? And then also simplify means you're flipping it back into a mixed number because unless they specifically ask you to leave your answer as an improper fraction, we don't ever leave our answers like that. They're improper. That's not the simplest form to leave them in. So just to go over that really quick, that's kind of backwards from the skill that we just practiced. We kind of ended here with 25 sixths. And the way that we turn that back into a mixed number is ask ourselves, well, how many groups of 6 can fit into 25? So I start thinking about my multiples of 6. And I know that 6 times 4 is 24, and that's as close as I'm going to get without going over. So that's why my whole number here becomes a 4. And then I'm asking how many left over. So 6 times 4 is 24, but I need to get to 25. So 25, sorry about that, 25 up to 24 up to 25 is one more, one left over. So that's where our numerator becomes a 1. And then this 6 right here is here because that was our original denominator. Again, that denominator comes from there. So our answer is 4 1/6. At this point, I still am going to ask myself, I'm looking at that fractional piece and saying, can I reduce that fraction at all? And the numerator is 1, and anytime the numerator is 1, the answer is no. You're done. Okay, so that was a lot of explaining. Let's go through and try an example. We have 2 examples today. And just like all of the other slides, I highly encourage you, you can see the problem in front of you right here. I encourage you to pause the video, try this independently, and unpause it when you're ready to do some self-checking of your work with mine. And again, errors are probably going to happen. That's fine. But as long as you're trying and you're working to find out what that error is so that you can move forward in a better way with your math. So as I begin to solve this, I'm looking, it says 1/5 times 4 1/2. So one of my multiples here, one of these multiples, factors, I'm not using the proper term there. 1/5 doesn't need to be converted at all. That's already in fractional form. And I'm just going to carry that down actually. But 4 1/2, I can't multiply it like that. That's a mixed number form. I need to turn it into an improper fraction. So I'm going to do what I just kind of talked through earlier. I'm going to take 2 times 4, and that's 8, plus 1 more is 9. And my denominator stays the same as it was before, so my denominator is 2. And now my job is to multiply. And when you multiply fractions, you just multiply across. 1 times 9 is 9. And 5 times 2 is 10. And I stop and I ask myself, is there anything I need to do to simplify this answer? And 9/10, it's not improper, and it's not, it doesn't need to be reduced. So my answer is 9/10. Let's try one more. Okay, again, pause the video here, try this on your own, and unpause it when you're ready to check your work with mine. So as I prepare to solve this problem, we have 3 times 2 1/3. The first thing that I'm going to remember is that every whole number can also be written as a fraction, just like that. All you have to do is put a 1 underneath it. So even though 3 looks like a whole number, that can get a little confusing right now since we're dealing with mixed numbers. No, it's a piece of cake. All we have to do is turn it into a fraction by writing a 1 under it. So I'm going to do that. 3 is the same as 3 over 1. Sorry about that. My computer's being crazy. 3, and then times. Now I do have to convert this mixed number. So here we go. We have 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. That's kind of weird. 7 all over the same denominator of 3. At this point, I could talk to you about cross-reducing, but we'll save that for another day. Let's just multiply across. 3 times 7 is 21. 1 times 3 is 3. Now I have 21/3, and really this is one of those situations with a fraction where we need to remember that fractions represent division problems actually. And so in that fraction bar right here, right here, that actually can be read as divided by. Any fraction is like that. So really we can look at this as 21 divided by 3. Well, that's really simple. It goes in evenly. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Our answer is 7. All right, that's it for our practice today, you guys. If you need any further clarification, just go ahead and replay parts of this video. Otherwise, of course, I will attach the detailed notes into Google Classroom. that is where you can find your homework assignment as well. Thanks so much and have a great day.